What's going on, everybody? Sorry I don't have an intro today, but it's been a busy day. I didn't have time to really put together something. I couldn't come up with anything fast enough. So here we are. I just watched Beetlejuice. Jake, have you seen Beetlejuice yet?
I've only seen the first one 100 times, but I have not seen the
Yeah.
sequel.
The same. I mean, okay, I have seen the sequel, but I have seen the first one, yeah, at least 100 times, right? Like several times a year. Beetlejuice is up there. You know, that's a phenomenal, great movie, awesome, fun movie to watch
Yeah.
any day of the year, especially this time. What if we're getting close to Halloween?
Oh, most definitely. Back in a time when you could say stuff was original. There was originality to films back then.
That's up there
Not
with
just-
Ghostbusters, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Actually, I think
Not
it's better than Ghostbusters, to be honest.
I mean, I think I've watched it more than Ghostbusters. Yeah, I have.
Yeah,
I remember
definitely.
my first time watching the first Beetlejuice. The thing that stuck out in my mind the most when I was, I don't know, 10 or 11 years old. My dad was like, here's a good one from when I was a child. I was
Yeah.
like, okay.
Wait a minute. Hold on a minute.
Yeah.
Your dad said, when I was a child, I watched this movie, so we're going to watch this.
He was in high school. So
When did Beetlejuice come out? Hold on. There's no way. Like,
in the late 80s?
yeah, I mean, I didn't see it in theaters, that's for sure, but I was born.
Right.
You know, my parents didn't say, "Well, back when I was a little kid."
When I say father, I mean stepfather, because my mom and my stepdad are 13 years apart.
Okay, 1988. That's the year.
Okay, but
Yeah,
anyway,
that makes sense. I was 88. I was born in 84, so I was 4 years old.
I was born in 87.
But I grew up watching that. At least by the 90s, I had watched it.
Of course.
And
So-
go ahead and finish.
Oh, no, you're good. And the first scene that stuck out of my mind to be like, this is going to be a great film, was when he was miniaturized on the diorama of the city, of the little town.
Yeah.
And he kicks over a tree. It falls over, and he goes, nice fucking model.
Yeah. I love that scene, dude. Because, yeah, man, his Michael Keaton is a hilarious actor. He's great in almost everything he's done. I can't think of a movie that he did that I didn't at least like his role, you know, in the movie.
Right.
The Flash wasn't that great of a movie, but I liked every second he was in it.
Mm-hmm.
Birdman was a freaking amazing movie. Beetlejuice, of course, everything he's ever done. It's amazing. Batman.
I forgot the name of the movie where this was okay. So Michael Keaton started out as a comedian before he became an actor, like many of them do. Okay, and so Batman was going to be his first like serious role, and you know he knocked it out of the park. But one of his first films that I watched when I was way older, like in my early 20s, to respect the old films. What was it? It was some movie with Henry Winkler where they worked night shift. It was called Night Shift, and he worked nighttime with Henry Winkler and a lot of like crazy stuff. And it was hilarious, man. I highly recommend. I've seen
Night Shift. Yeah, I don't know if I've seen that one.
Yeah, with Henry Winkler, the Fonz. One of the earliest things for Michael Keaton. I recommend it.
Oh yeah, I have seen. God, it's been a long. I haven't even. I have seen that movie, but I remember nothing about it. You mentioned the Fonz, and I'm like, oh yeah. I remember seeing that movie, but I don't remember the movie. Of course, Beetlejuice being one that over the decades they've talked about a sequel for this movie.
Yeah,
and there was like one that was almost, from what I remember, it was going to be the sequel. Was when it was like a beach vacation or something, right?
Yeah,
Beetlejuice goes to the beach for a long time, and I was like, oh god, I hope they don't do Beetlejuice on the beach.
Yeah, Beetlejuice goes Hawaii or something, like that. And I was like, well, that sounds like a fucking Ernest film. That doesn't sound like a Beetlejuice film.
Yeah, on a side note, speaking of Ernest, it's kind of. I was actually thinking about doing a video about this, but I don't know if it's worth making a whole video. Do you remember Ernest Goes to Hell?
Yes.
I don't think that movie ever existed. I think that's a Mandela effect.
Don't rope me in like that.
I remember Ernest
Don't
Goes to
fucking rope
Hell.
me in like that.
Well, dude, I'm telling you, I remember it. Hold on, because it changes. You know how Mandelas go; it changes from time to time.
That's like that Sinbad film with Shazam and
exactly
Kazam. Like
Shazam. I'm from the Shazam.
Shaquille O'Neal did Kazam. I remember that one because he held the kid under the umbrella because all the candy was falling from the sky. But Shazam with Sinbad, I can only recall a name.
Yeah, well, I remember the Shazam at Video Central's, a video store in South Texas back in the day. I remember, as a kid, my parents, they'd be walking through the video store, and I would go to the kids section and play with the little kid toys, look at the kid movies, and like get my Ninja Turtle. I'd always get Ninja Turtles, and then I'd hand it to my parents, and I'd just go play, for however long it took them to pick a movie.
Right.
And I remember seeing Shazam on the shelf, and I always wanted to rent it because it looked, I don't even know why, it just looked interesting, Shazam. And so I'm from the Shazam-averse. I am from Shazam-averse. Okay. And Fruit of the Loom with the Cornucopia-verse. So Shazam and Cornucopia-verse.
On Fruit of the Loom. Don't you ever tell me there wasn't.
There was. There totally was.
Yes.
And
I had the underwear.
Yeah, I remember that's how I learned
everything.
I remember that's how I learned about cornucopias, because I always wondered what that was. And then in class, we went over what that thing was. I'm like, oh, like in my tag, like I know what that thing is. I've seen that before.
Right.
And the drawings people make of it is definitely the exact image that I remember. It totally happened. We are crossing universes, but Ernest Goes to Hell never happened. There was a song written called Ernest Goes to Hell. I don't see a date. 2006. This is way before that. This would have been when I was a kid. Or at least in the 90s.
All the Ernest movies were late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah. I remember Ernest Goes to Hell as being a movie. I don't remember why they would make a movie. It doesn't make any sense why they would make a movie like that.
Right.
But that was, I remember the name Ernest Goes to Hell. That never happened, apparently. Now, with Beetlejuice, they had all these sequels. They finally got one together. And I was not happy about it. I wasn't looking forward to it, honestly. No. All this time, I've just been like, oh, God, what are they going to do? Well, I finally went and I saw it. And to be fair, it was okay. I was actually delightfully surprised. This movie was fun to watch. It was a fun movie.
Okay.
Like some recent movies have been fun to go and watch. What was the one that just recently came out? Man, and I was saying the same thing. Well, Deadpool was a fun movie. That was a cool movie. The story, it actually had a story, which is kind of what I was going to get into here in a minute. There's been a lot of movies in the past few years that are just weird, and they're hard to explain what's going on here. And I think I'm starting to figure out what is going on. And I think it has to do with people just don't know how to write a story anymore. With Beetlejuice, yeah, it had the nostalgia. It had the fun. And I'm not going to do any spoilers because I know it's new and people haven't seen it all yet. So I'm just going to keep it to the bare bones here. Like, it was a lot of fun to go watch this movie. I enjoyed it. There was no story. There was a series of stories happening here, and they all kind of work together.
Okay.
But it's like too many cooks in the kitchen. There was this thing happening over here, this thing happening over here, this over here, and there's all these plots that are happening, but there's no central reasoning for it all to kind of come together. It's just like a bunch of events that lead to a conclusion, and it was enjoyable to watch. Now, even nonsensical movies like Demolition Man or Beetlejuice in the beginning had stories. The original Beetlejuice was about that couple that died, and now they're stuck in their house, and they have to coexist with this family. And then they end up getting Beetlejuice involved, and then shenanigans ensue, but that is the plot of the movie.
Right.
There is nothing like that in this movie. Beetlejuice has his thing. The Deets have their thing. There is an interesting thing that I noticed. The father, if anyone's watching and is not aware, the father from the original movie is absent in this movie. Well, he's in there, but the actor is absent, noticeably absent.
Really?
That's because he's in prison right now for child something or other.
No.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's pictures or if it's stuff, actions. I didn't want to research it because honestly, I have zero interest in learning about that. Other
Now that I
than
think about it,
he's one of them.
He did have that Jared from Subway type look about him.
He does, right? I mean,
Yeah.
but there's a lot of actors. I mean, then again, with all the Diddy stuff, maybe you can kind of judge
I think
days.
it's all finally coming out, dude.
I hope it all does because
It's about to
honestly,
implode.
we've known that this crap is happening. Everybody kind of alludes to it.
Mhm.
There were acceptable practices that people they didn't think twice about. Like I'm seeing a lot of memes about Justin Bieber, but when you're a kid, I was a kid back then, so it wouldn't have been that big of a deal to me back then. And back then, adults didn't care. But now, back then, all of us are grown up, and now we're kind of like, wait a minute, there's some shady things going on, and we were all kind of aware of it. But now we're older, and we're like, wait a minute, that's not right. And I don't know. I'm glad that a lot of this is coming out, and it's coming out more and more by the day. I don't like the idea of a witch hunt. Never liked that idea. But then again, anyways, because that's not what we're talking about here.
Right. We keep taking detours.
I know, right? I'm bad about that. It's one of those weeks. Anyways.
It's an actual conversation.
Yeah, right? Well, sort of. I've been doing, I ramble. That's what I do. I ramble a lot.
So what?
Anyway, so you've got all of this crazy stuff happening in Hollywood. When we had these old Beetlejuice movie, there was a plot. The new one's kind of lacking. The father's obviously missing because of these things that are happening, and it's Hollywood. I actually, this is a spoiler, but it's right off the beginning, and so it's not going to hurt anybody's feelings. They do handle that interestingly. The father he dies from some crazy event. Like they have this big long thing to explain how he dies. Eventually, he ends up getting eaten in half by a shark in the movie, and it is kind of funny. And the rest of the movie, in the afterlife, he's like half a body, squirting blood, everything. It's kind of funny. Considering the facts here, I'm surprised. And the nature of Beetlejuice is a little bit raunchy. This movie is not as raunchy as the original one. It's not. It's just not. It should have been, and this would have been a great way to do it. They should have thrown him in a wood chipper. I can't believe they didn't do that. That would have been, they could have done the exact same thing. Instead of a shark biting him in half, they throw him in a wood chipper and he's like chopped in half. And that's like an added joke to the thing, but I guess they didn't want to get sued, or maybe they didn't. There's got to be, somebody had to have made that joke. And then they were like, oh my God, that would have been funny, but no, we can't do that.
Have a little bit of respect for your fallen friend.
Yeah, right? And that's what it is. He's a fallen friend. He got caught.
Yeah.
And so they're like, oh, he got caught. We can't do anything, but we don't have to put mud in his eye, which is despicable, Hollywood. Shame on you. Put mud in his eye and then clean your own shit to clean up your act. Anyways, with the idea of the Beetlejuice, this new one is just a series of events. I'm noticing a trend, and now this has obviously been reported on to death of how horrible everything is these days. Have you heard of? Hey, Jake, have you heard? Everything sucks.
Oh, everything.
Did you know that?
Yeah, I can't enjoy nothing, man.
It all sucks. Everything sucks. Yeah. Well,
it's all DEI check marks. It's all woke. It's all forward progressive shit.
That's right. It sucks. Just everybody throw in the towel. No more movies, no more books, no more nothing. Cartoons are out the window.
Can't handle
this shit. It's over. That's it. Good night.
We got too many Eartha Kitt's trying to be Catwoman. We got too many.
Now, there's hope because we just got that Dune movie and we just got that Deadpool movie. And even though Deadpool had a lot going on in that movie, and and
Mhm.
to a very small degree has this problem with uh, just a series of crap happening, but at least it does have a central plot. He's trying to save his universe.
Sure.
He's trying to do whatever, and so it does have like a story going on here. Star Wars is one that I don't think does. The new ones, at least the
I
new
was about to say, which
trilogy.
trilogy?
Yeah, the new trilogy. There was, I think it's amateur writing, man, because
Yeah.
you had or nobody, either too many cooks in the kitchen or too many cooks cause everybody to like not take ownership. The first movie out of the new ones, what is it called? The Force Awakens. So that one is basically just a ripoff. Like, great job, JJ. JJ Abrams just took the first movie and then remade it, and so then and then hands it off to the next guy and goes, "There you go. I just rebooted your franchise." So then you get who's the guy that directed the second one that everyone hates
Uh,
because everything sucks.
wasn't it the team from Game of Thrones?
Was it? I didn't
Yeah,
know
because
that.
that's why they shortened the last season so much.
It's the guy that directed Knives Out. Who's that guy?
Oh, I don't know who that is.
Knives Out. Knives Out.
But yeah, that was the
Director.
thing. They were given a chance to
Ryan
direct
Johnson.
Star Wars, and they jumped the gun on Game of Thrones so they could go do another project, which is why both of them failed horribly at the end.
No way. Game of Thrones failed for a lot of reasons.
Yeah. Well, it was the directors that jumped ship to go to Star Wars.
I mean, I don't blame them. It's Star Wars, right?
It is Star Wars.
So Ryan Johnson directed Star Wars The Last Jedi. Now, The
Okay.
Last Jedi, it's almost like he said, "You know what? I can't believe you did this to me. Like, you give me this." So JJ passed the buck of, well, what do we do with the new Star Wars? And now we're in the second film out of like 3, so we're almost like halfway through the story here. By the way, there's a lot of plots going on in that movie.
Mhm.
The New Hope, I mean, not A New Hope, the Force Awakens. What is the story other than, like, let's say you take the what's it called? You take A New Hope out of it. You've got at least Luke Skywalker was discovered, like Obi-Wan knew, like they were trying to get Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan knew about Luke. Obi-Wan tries to bring Luke in. They go to do this mission. There's a story there. But in A Force Awakens, where she just kind of like randomly stumbles across the droid, she's not, she wasn't trying to get anywhere with it, right? She was just
She was just chilling in the sand dunes, man.
and she ended up like on the Millennium Falcon, and then ended up being trapped by the owners of the Millennium Falcon, and then ended up going to this planet. And then everything it's a series of events to connect all these story arcs together. There's really no plot, and in the second movie, it kind of just exacerbates that, because then we add even more characters. We're adding Luke Skywalker. We're going to make Leia more important. Let's bring back Yoda. Let's just have all this shit happen and then kill the main bad guy so that the next guy has to make sense of it all. And then he said, "I'm out." And so then JJ gets brought back in. And apparently he had a pretty cool idea for the for the ending. And I'll give him props. From what I heard about the ending, the original idea for that movie was that it was going to have like some force battle that goes across the entire story arc, the timeline, all the way from episode 1 and all the way to the end. They're going to be fighting this big time battle. And it was supposed to be epic, but then a lot of people came in and said, "Nah, we're going to focus on this. We're going to focus on that." That force battle got taken out, and it ended up just being, again, a series of events that happened, because now we got another new bad guy, which was the old bad guy, and which destroys the importance of the original trilogy altogether, which might have been part of the plot. Everyone hates Kathleen Kennedy because she sucks, right? So she's responsible for that. Anyways, like, that's not the best writing. And I don't know what you do with that. Like, they had a trilogy. The Thrawn trilogy went perfect.
What I remember is for 7, 8, and 9, I remember these weird ass little um, cliff notes that took place. So, first off, we have Finn in the first film. Great character. I thought it was unique to have a stormtrooper, kind of like
Yeah,
this
that looked
man,
cool.
and
That was a cool idea.
join the rebellion. I thought that was wicked. Don't know how he's a stormtrooper when they're all supposed to be clones. That's questions for later. And then, so he becomes part of them. He's now force sensitive. It looked like they were building some kind of relationship between him and Rey. And then we sidetracked that with Kylo or Ben,
which was lame. That had to have been a fan, that the Raylos, that did that. He was totally gonna Finn and Rey were totally gonna hook up,
and I would have been okay with it.
I would have been like, hell yeah, dude.
And the people that were like, oh no, there's a black dude in Star Wars, dude. It's the check mark for Lando. It's the check mark for Lando that we did way back in 4, 5, and 6. Okay?
I don't remember anybody going to any kind of I never remember really hearing that, except for people saying, in China they didn't like it.
There were whispers. And
really?
Oh yeah. So I'm just like, guys, fuck off. That's the check mark for Lando that we had in 4, 5, and 6. Okay, we get it here in 7, 8, 9. Calm down. Plus, he's a good character, and I like the actor.
And he did a great job.
Oh, most definitely.
We got that weird girl in the next one that was like frumpy and
I don't understand what the fuck that was.
Like taking he's clearly not into her.
And then they had that fucking dagger. Do you remember that dagger?
Dude, what was that? That was like something out of Indiana Jones and that's not a fucking Star Wars thing.
This is a problem with that rider.
That's like a plot armor, right? Or not plot armor. What do you call that?
So you're telling me that this dagger, if you open up the hilt,
if you're standing in the right spot,
you have to be at the same exact right spot where they were standing. Open that fucker up, and then realize, hey, this is a key to how to get there.
It's a map. But here's the other thing: that Death Star had been crashed there. Was that on Endor? What planet was that even on? Because I thought Endor was a forest, but whatever. So maybe Endor was like the forest moon of Endor. Right. Anyway, I don't know. Maybe Endor was the water planet. But anyways, so that means somebody made that dagger within 30 years. Like that looked like an ancient artifact, right? It's supposed to connect to this ancient artifact. Somebody's standing there, like some artist is like, okay, right here, and I'm gonna chisel this out. Like he makes the dagger for nothing, for no reason, for nobody. Why would you do that? You either know where that thing is at. The throne room, by the way. Like it's not like it's rocket science. Go to the throne room because that's where it's at, where the Emperor would have been. Because you can't get any more detailed with a dagger, anyways. Throne room is here. Well, I'm sure there's a billion schematics you could have looked up on the Death Star to find out where that was at. You don't need to stand in a certain spot on a. Anyways, Texas Beast, what's going on, man? He's here, dudes. Just listening. Never saw either of these movies, but storytelling is always important.
You are not lying.
And it's kind of what I'm kind of getting at, because there are movies that are getting better and getting good, but man. Here's one for Beetlejuice. I have a question for Beetlejuice. So in the first film, the Alec Baldwin and her character, I can't remember her name. Yeah. Huh? Gina something, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
But were their characters in Beetlejuice, or did they explain their absence?
Yes.
Did they finally pass on?
They explain it.
Okay.
And that's actually a pretty good explanation. It fits. In fact, everything in this movie fits. It all fits. Everything in this movie fits into Beetlejuice perfectly, I would add. I don't think there's anything out of place. Like, all the plots are pretty good, I gotta admit. There's just too many plots going without a central theme happening. It's kind of the problem with Beetlejuice. They
Right.
even they explained like a few things in one of the trailers. He's like, "Oh, my wife." That's pretty good. I gotta admit, like that they did a good job with that. And then there's other things that happen that with the daughter and Delia and her and her mom. Because if you remember, Delia or the mom was a stepmom, not actually her actual mom, and they didn't like each
Right.
other. So there is a little bit of character development going on there. There's a lot. It was a a really good Beetlejuice movie. It's just missing the theme. Like they could have made focus on one thing that you're trying to accomplish with this movie, and then have all that other stuff focus around that.
Right.
There isn't. Willem Dafoe's in it. I mean, it's a good movie. It's got a lot of funny stuff in it.
So
It's
Winona Ryder, because she didn't outgrow her Avril Lavigne stage, apparently, uh, does she just like give that to Jenna Ortega? Is that her daughter, or is that like a niece? Or
it's her daughter.
okay,
She's like, and it's not. This ain't. It isn't a spoiler. She like in the future. In this time, she's having had to deal with seeing ghosts, and she's not like thrilled about it anymore. She's got a podcast or some TV show, and she's just kind of done with it. Her daughter, I think, is not like, I don't think she sees her daughter very often, and so there is an aspect of we're going to reconnect these characters as one of the plots happening in this movie. But it's not the central theme. There is no central theme. That's kind of the problem. That would have been a perfect central theme. Like, make the movie about wanting to reconnect or something, and then make it family. Make it a family, and even bring in Beetlejuice as part of the family.
right?
It wasn't. It was not that. It could have been. It could have been that. It beats going to the beach. I mean, what are some other movies recently where the stories are just like, what am I like?
I'll give you one. Justice League, and I can pick that bitch apart.
Oh my, yeah. Well, that's a inherent problem with having multiple star as the cast. I will say, Endgame did an okay job with it. They did a pretty good job with taking all these major characters and throwing them together, because there was a central problem that they all had to deal with, which actually might be a topic for another stream. Is this idea that you're gonna take villains and turn them in? You got to understand your villains. We got the new Wicked movie coming out, and that's supposed to be about, now we got to understand the evil Wicked Witch of the West. But that's a topic for another time.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm just going to point out that Wicked came first as a musical theater production, and Maleficent stole the idea from Wicked. Okay,
you know what? And it spawned a whole genre of the Joker, which was an amazing movie. But again, we got to understand these villains, these murderers. We got to like understand why. What's with that? Why do we have to?
I don't know. I enjoyed mystery. I enjoyed not knowing where these characters came from, and there they are.
Yeah,
you got to deal with them.
I didn't even know the Joker's first name is Arthur Fleck. Apparently, now this is a standalone. Like what do they call that? The Elseverse or whatever.
Yeah, Elseworlds.
Elseverse
comics, for DC.
So yeah, that's like a separate. It doesn't have to tie in, and that's cool. Actually, I actually think that's clever.
So
why make it work?
Here's what you don't do with your villain that Justice League did, and now that I think about it, Ben 10 did the same thing. You don't have your big bad show up at the very beginning of your show, get his ass beat, and then run away with his tail between his legs to come back as a threat later. You lose all validity of him being a threat because he already had his ass whooped. When Darkseid was taking on the Amazons, the Greek gods, and a Green Lantern, apparently, you saw that Hercules zapped his ass, and then somebody took a hatchet to his chest, and he had to retreat with his parademons because he got his ass beat. But he left behind the mother box. Okay, so that's how the mother box ended up on Earth.
Yeah.
Now you're telling me that Darkseid forgot about this mother box that he's been searching for, and only suddenly comes into knowing that it's there because it activates. But now
That's
you
an
have him coming.
interesting
Yeah, you have
thought.
him. You have him send Steppenwolf, who is now trying to redeem himself. Because I'm talking about the Snyder cut. I'm not talking about that Joss Whedon bullshit. And
That's not a
so,
goes hard to watch, man.
oh, I'm telling you. But
Uh,
so
so you're saying don't have a villain get his ass beat in the beginning of the film and then double his efforts and come back because he's already been
right,
beaten. And
yeah, because
so the
you
only
have
other conclusion could be that he wins. Otherwise, he just got
yeah,
lost again. He just lost
yeah,
again.
you've nullified any believability that this dude is an actual threat for the next team he has to take on.
Well, unless he
Because
wins, he has to win. Otherwise, okay. So he came back and got his ass beat again. Like, what are we gonna do? Are we gonna do this all day long? Come on, what's the point in
so
bringing in somebody that constantly loses?
there's already two losses that happened on Darkseid's team. Darkseid himself got his ass beat, and then his son or his lieutenant colonel got killed, and his head was thrown back to Darkseid's feet through the wormhole at the end of the film. So, yeah, you've lost all plausibility of being a threat, homie.
Now,
And then
there's ways to do it a little
well,
different than that.
Ben 10 did it a little different, but it still didn't make me feel like Vilgax was a threat. So when Vilgax learned of the Omnitrix being on Earth, he was in a regenerative tank, a like healing pod, like you've seen on Dragon Ball Z and shit. So he was in a healing pod, but only like the top half of his torso and one arm is hooked up to anything. Everything else is gone. So you're telling me that that dude in that healing pod with only half his body is going to be the big bad for the rest of Ben 10's like known existence?
It's a little different, but like the Incredibles, you had the kid. He didn't get his ass beat though, and so he was like vindictive and angry and came back to the kid. You know, what's his name in the first Incredibles that gets shot down by Mr. Incredible,
Oh,
and so that builds his whole
Buddy.
resentment. Yeah, and that builds his whole purpose. That's a great story. I don't care if it's kind of a ripoff of The Watchmen, which is a ripoff of the Marvel DC characters. That's like what we were talking about on your show. That was a good job of telling that you take ideas from these others and you make a whole new thing out of it, and that's pretty cool. Like that,
Definitely.
they did a great job with the Incredibles. I
I'll be
never
right
once thought during that movie. I never once saw the character and was like, "Oh, this guy's Iceman" because he's throwing ice around, or he's even got the Cyclops visor. I'm like, "No, that's Cyclops." I never even once thought that watching the movie. I never once thought Hulk or Superman when I saw Mr. Incredible. Mrs. Incredible, maybe I was thinking it's like Mr. Fantastic, but she was unique enough that I never looked at the characters in that movie. I was able to like distance them from the characters they're trying to portray.
Right.
We got Texas Beast here. He says, yeah, storytelling requires there to be a challenge that somebody overcomes. Usually the heroes overcome the villain. If the villain starts weak and ends weak, then what real threat was ever even beaten? And that's true.
You're no longer a threat, you're just an obstacle. And obstacles have different levels of being threatening or even challenging.
Darkseid's not a character you do that with. If anything, he's like not the character you do that with. Because he is the threat. And so it's not necessarily like is it even possible to beat him?
Yes, it is, but maybe one entity because he's multiple.
Okay, so that's one of those things where they kind of missed the mark on it anyways, because that's a character that's almost impossible to beat, and they were not prepared to tell that story in the Justice League movie. Maybe they should have just let him do the Thanos thing where he was just going to lay back for a few movies and then come back as the big bad and not, lose at the beginning and then come back and lose again. Like that's something you would do with a lesser character. But you know what? There's a few more stories out there where I'm kind of thinking What were they thinking? Indiana Jones. Have you seen Dial of Destiny?
No, I have not. God damn it.
What about Crystal Skull? So Indiana Jones in general, the later two, these last two movies, the storytelling is really bizarre in Crystal Skull. You have them trying to tie. There is a central plot. I'll give them that. But and even with Dial of Destiny, the same thing. There's a plot. Dial of Destiny, I think, was better than Crystal Skull. But there's like a lot of things happening, and at one point you've got the mother of his son, or you got the son in one movie, and then the next movie you've got the mother because they got to get rid of Shia LaBeouf. So you got the mother wanting to be a part of the movie, and she's like, they're all old, and so she's like all giddy just to be in the movie with Indiana Jones again. You know, like there's a lot of things happening around Indiana Jones, but it didn't feel like an Indiana Jones. It didn't even do what Beetlejuice did, where it didn't even really feel like Crystal Skull didn't feel like an Indiana Jones movie.
What isn't that the one where they tried to pass it on to Shia LaBeouf before he like had his insane breakdown?
Yes, yeah, and then they brought it back to Harrison Ford. We did a little bit of that CGI deepfake stuff, and actually, I like Dial of Destiny. I don't like the weird going back in time bit. That that was weird, but it kind of, I guess, kind of fits with Indiana. Indiana Jones isn't somebody that goes through time. He doesn't meet aliens. What are they thinking? He's the guy that finds an artifact, finds the importance of this artifact, and then like the power comes out every time.
Right.
You don't meet aliens and that kind of disproves almost everything that you ever had in the past with your other artifacts. And then the later one, the Dial of Destiny, it fits that the thing would go. Okay, it almost works that you could go back in time, but then to go meet Romans and during a Roman battle was just really weird. Really weird. Aside from that, I did like Dial of Destiny. I thought Dial of Destiny was kind of fun.
Yeah,
that's not good. It's not Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark. It's not Temple of Doom, or the only Indiana Jones that matters is the last one, the third one.
Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Now that's the first one.
Oh, what was the third one?
Temple of Doom, and then the third one was I can't remember the name of that one.
There was
the good one, the one with Sean Connery in it.
Raiders of the Lost Ark,
Temple of Doom. I know everyone's
Last
watching.
Crusade. Thank you, Texas.
Last Crusade. There you go. Thank you, because that's embarrassing. I apologize to everybody. It's been a long day.
You know what? It was the third one, and they called it the Last Crusade. Go figure.
It's the best one. It is the best one in that whole series, in my opinion. But because that one led into the idea that there could be a Young Indiana Jones series, which I know they tried to do. But anyways, that was back when they were telling good stories. Yeah, right? All right, Texas Beast has got it. Getting old sucks. Also, having like long, endless days, that never end of exhaustion.
Right.
And then like set up a live stream to go, talk about stuff that I actually want to talk about and have fun. It's like, oh man, my brain is just complete. Oh my god. Okay, so I talked about Indiana Jones. Now let's talk about one that I know you're ready to jump on is Terminator.
Goddamn, dude.
Terminator, what happened to Genesis and Dark Fate was even worse. As if Genesis couldn't get weirder and more pointless.
Genesis I didn't care for because they were actually trying to reboot the whole franchise with it, right? So they brought in like young Sarah Connor. Didn't even have to do with Kyle Reese anymore coming back from it. It was just all over the place. And they tried to introduce like different dimensions, not even like, dealing with,
now we got alternate reality versions of the
now
events.
It's just alternate realities. new universes can be parallel and you can cross it. It was just bullshit. And
if there's one cohesive thing, is that everything sucks and we're all going to die. Like, and then eventually robots are going to kill us. And that's it. Like, that is the only thing that holding that. There was no real story to that movie either, other than we all know the general plot to Terminator. Any Terminator movie is okay.
Like,
guy comes back.
Even Terminator 3 was bad, but at least it made the excuse of why it was made. And it's because you didn't stop it, you just postponed it. So even then, you play with the timeline a little bit to where you can't really change events that take place. You can just make it happen farther down the line. It's kind of like Dr. Who's excuse of being a finite point in time.
But they did that already. Like, Terminator 3, granted, was before Salvation, but Salvation would have been a better Terminator 3 movie. And then just scrap Terminator 3 or merge it with, I don't know, Dark Fate, Terminator 3, and Genesis. They're all dumb, but they could have, I don't know, if you could go back in time, in a time sphere, take all those stories and plots, merge a cohesive storyline out of it, you might have something. Because in my brain, and I think I talked about canon, it was like one of the first streams I did in this year, and how canon really doesn't matter anymore because they've just messed everything up. So when it comes to Terminator, canon is Terminator, Terminator 2, Salvation, and then some weird amalgamation of the rest of them.
Terminator 0?
Okay, Terminator 0 included, because that's like some alternate future or some alternate version of the past.
Right.
And how it leads to the... You know what, though? Every time a Terminator or somebody goes back in time, it leaves like an orb.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck orbs. I'm tired of orbs. Everywhere I look, there's an orb. So anyways, at what point does San Francisco or San Diego or whatever, what are they going to start like a government agency to deal with all these orbs that are just tearing the shit out of their city, right? They're going to have like the Department of Orb Restructure or something, because there's so many Terminators and heroes going backwards that there's just holes everywhere.
Yeah.
And now we got even more with Zero.
You know, it fucks up everything. You think they'd have like some kind of like blip on a radar somewhere going off when it happens and they'd investigate, but apparently
you know
not.
What? I was just thinking of the fact that it's like the physical destruction, but you're right. That's a temporal displacement. There's got to be radiation. There's got to be some weird shit happening in those areas. Right. And at what point does that start to really affect the, I don't know, the surrounding environment? Yeah. Metal balls, bro. I'm going to do a big shebang one of these days about orbs and how I'm fucking tired of them. Everybody's got an orb. Everybody's going to destroy things with an orb. Yeah. I guess not so much anymore, I will say. But there was a time where in every movie I watched, there's an orb. Like Magneto's making an orb of this thing. What is it doing? The Dark Phoenix in that X-Men 3 movie, she's making an orb. What and what is she doing? It's on an island. Is that orb gonna like blow up the world? I don't know what's going on in that orb, but it's some weird freaky shit.
Does the Tesseract from Avengers count as an orb?
The Tesseract? That's a cube.
But it's still a glowy thing.
No, it's clearly
a glowy entity.
No, that's a cube. It's clearly separate from an orb.
Maybe in shape, but in like.
However, the Justice League, that guy's out in the middle of the desert. Ain't nothing gonna happen from that orb, but he's making some big purple glowing orb out in the fucking desert. And what's that doing? Bad storytelling. That does tie in. You know what? This isn't the big orb finale, but this is that ties in to this ongoing problem with orbs. We got an orb pandemic happening here.
Right.
Everybody's making orbs, and what do? They do nothing. Magneto's orb didn't even it just had strands of in the X-Men Apocalypse movie. He's got like these strands of metal going around in a big sphere. You got Dark Phoenix. They just did Dark Phoenix. She's got a big old orb Got the Justice League orb. There were a lot of villains at the time that were like round spherical creatures that were just kind of like a nuisance.
The Blob.
The Blob, but that's a little bit earlier, right? That's at least the 80s. I'm thinking like within like a 5-year span, every movie had orbs in it all of a sudden. Maybe 10-year span. Maybe I am just getting old and I'm just like, damn it, not another orb. You know?
You're going to be the orb guy.
Yeah, dude. They're driving me nuts. Get more creative, guys. Make a cube, a tesseract.
Here's one that I've been noticing for female superheroes. They don't act like women. They act like teensty teenager girls.
Oh, and they get all this power. They get all the power.
They got all the power, but they act like a little raging, angry teenager.
Yeah, like little divas.
So even in Justice League, the TV show, Wonder Woman acted more like a girly girl than an Amazonian, right? Yeah. She was always trying to pick up Bruce Wayne or Batman, always trying to get him to take her out on dates. She was always like putting her arms behind her back and using that little cutie stance to, seem, innocent, but yet, take the innocence and all that jazz. And then with, Supergirl, it's the same way. She wants to like bone Green Lantern at one point in the comics. And then at other points in the comics, she just turns into this like, man, I want to do the high school girl type shit and go shopping and use up Clark's credit cards. And I'm tired of it, man. I'm tired of the dude
works for a newspaper. He's not making that much money.
Do what?
He works for a newspaper. He's not getting paid by the Justice League. Like, how does the Justice League even afford that tower, by the way? Who paid for that? Bruce Wayne. That makes sense. Yeah,
it's all put on his bill.
So does he pay the Avengers, the Justice League? Does he pay them for their hard work?
You would think for time on the Watchtower, just watching everything, you think that'd be paid time.
Or the city, the government should be paying that tower.
Or is it by commission when you save a city?
Oh man. Okay. A couple weeks ago, we were on Dojo's channel and we were talking about secret bases. I'm going to add that to my evil volcano that I'm going to smash on DC. I will require all governments to fund my evil volcano filled with strippers.
And they'll do it.
And for reference, yeah, they'll have to because I have superheroes on asteroids all around the planet. So for reference, go back to Dojo's a few weeks ago, Dojo Kun's Comics channel. We talked about evil layers. I think mine was the best, personally.
It was. But we can't call your volcano Epstein Volcano. What can we call it?
Why would I call it Epstein Volcano? No, it's Super Psychedelic Sexy Lair. Duh. Super Psychedelic Sexy Volcano Lair filled with lava and hot, sexy stripper babes.
I'm just saying you said it was a villain's lair, and that's very villainous.
No, that's like some raunchy, like... Okay. Yes, that's a villainous lair. But not Evil Diddy lair. Yeah, I'm going to call it the Diddy lair. Diddy Kano. Oh, man.
The Diddy lair.
Yeah, the Diddy lair. I'm going to smash it on top of DC, and then all governments will pay me. That way I have money to pay so that my nieces and shit could go run my credit card up.
There we go.
That's it. I just explained it. And I am saving the planet, by the way. I'm saving it from its own destruction.
In your image.
So that's not a villain's lair at all. That's a hero's lair. What kind of hero's lair would be, complete without strippers and lava?
There's a silver lining there somewhere. I just can't see it yet.
Well, you got to come over to Stanley Orchard because the only thing missing from this image, like Gunther, like a couple of like women, you know what I mean? Like
I don't know if I want to come to the Peter Orchard because that sounds like a grove of dicks.
The Peter Orchard, yeah, big dicks.
At the Diddy lair.
Yeah, the titty layer.
Oh, shit.
You know what it all started with?
Huh.
The spirit bomb.
Yes.
Orbs started with that thing. It's a
It
cool
did.
idea, but maybe it didn't start with that because I'm sure they were doing orbs before then. But
Well, is
you know,
the spirit
growing
bomb
up,
really that great when it only worked once?
it is supposed to be the biggest thing, the biggest, most powerful thing. If you get everybody to like get on their knees and pray to Allah,
Well, it didn't
it,
work
it
on
like
Vegeta.
it makes it bigger, doesn't it?
It didn't work on Vegeta. It didn't work on Frieza.
Well, I mean, that's because there were a bunch of non-believers. There were a bunch of
Well, it didn't work twice on the main villain, so he didn't even bother to use it on Cell.
well, there's a bunch of heathens, non-believers, and what is that other term for regular people that aren't, I don't know, Jewish?
Agnostic.
Yeah, whatever. Like those people, they weren't praying on their knees to Allah
Right.
for the spirit bomb. If everybody just got on their knees and prayed to Allah for the spirit bomb, you could have beaten Cell.
Oh, shit. But yeah, somehow it worked on Boo.
Bad storytelling in its infancy, I guess.
Oh, definitely.
What are some other ones, man? So you got like, of course, this new Terminator Zero or whatever is just the original Terminator, but with some new. It's happening. I like the idea that's happening on the other side of the planet. Obviously, the end of the world and the Terminators, that is a global thing. So why are we always going to California? Was it California, right? Or was it New York? I think it was California.
I even thought it was New York for a second, but yeah, probably California.
So it's like we're focusing on that. I do like the idea that we're on the other side of the planet. I don't like the idea that on the other side of the planet in 1997 we had robots and AI running around. That doesn't make any sense. So
yeah, it wasn't right. So
the music was cool in that show, but the story was kind of, I don't know.
The story borrowed elements from all the other Terminator pieces. So the thriller type style of the first Terminator was given to the Terminator when they were in the alternate 1997 trying to send the female forward into time, even though it looks like it's going backwards.
Well, she should have just run backwards,
which
like
that's
Flash
another
does.
thing too. We've walked away from dudes being competent in these things to where they're just side characters that need to be saved from the females.
Yeah, that I'm tired of that. Okay, you were earlier talking about like these girl boss heroes or whatever.
Yeah.
One of these problems with writing stories is, especially when it comes to these women, what was it? Okay, if you could epitomize like the ultimate awesome girl hero, who do you think is the best girl hero? For me, it's gonna end up being between Ridley, because Ridley wasn't overpowered. She wasn't like extremely intelligent. She literally just had what she had and then made it work. Or if you want to give them superpowers, the Fifth Element, you know, Lulu or Lilu.
There's
Lilu.
that too.
But Lilu wasn't like, she still needed him to
learn love.
To learn.
Love was the last element that she needed to, become the ultimate weapon.
Oh, I never really thought about it like that, but that's true. The Sixth Element. No, wait, she is the Fifth Element.
She's the fifth, but you needed that element of love.
Yeah, love was the Fifth Element. Oh, it wasn't her. She wasn't the Fifth Element. She was the stone. Yeah. Like all the stones open up with the element that opens them. She was the stone. Love was the element that had to open up. Yeah, it was love.
Yeah.
Love. I never really I always considered her to be the Fifth Element, but that actually makes more sense that she's the stone. And all the other stones put their energies into her and she blasts it out.
Yeah. Because don't forget, she was created there in the lab, like reconstructed.
Yeah.
So she was built by man. She was a tool to go along with the other tools. But
I thought she
for
was just
girl,
like a tool that needed a love. I didn't think that love was the element.
she was like the first AI, I guess.
Ah, that's pretty clever. I like that. That's a good superhero girl right there.
Yeah. So for superhero females, I always, when it came to females, there were, well, if we want girl boss, not just girl, I was going to say the Sailor Scouts, but no, there's Ditzy as Goku.
As much as I would love to talk about the Sailor Scouts, I don't know enough other than when I was like in 8th grade.
Right.
They were just popular enough that I could say, "Oh yeah, the sailors." Mm-hmm.
Well, you know, Hollywood would enjoy
Like
doing a reiteration of a. Well, Hollywood would like to do a live version because all those Sailor Scouts are 14 to 17.
Yeah, and they want to make them all lesbian. And they want to
There we
get
go.
all like trans or whatever they want to do with it.
Get Kathleen
But like
Kennedy
almost
on.
like 20 something, almost 30 years later, I'm not as like
Right.
I'm not as into the sailors as
Sure.
you know as I was.
Yeah. Well, I have a daughter, so I have reason to start looking at them. And
Well, I mean,
introducing her.
That's a perfect example. I have 2 daughters, and My Little Pony was never a thing I was interested in until I
Right.
had daughters, and then they were into My Little Ponies, and so Walmart had a shirt called Bronies, which was all about dudes that are cool with ponies, and my daughters were into ponies, so I got a Brony shirt. That does not mean the same thing anymore,
No,
and I
it
had
does
to
not.
burn that shirt.
Not one bit.
And I'm not happy about it. So screw you, Hollywood, and your weird ideas that are leaking into schools. But
Girl bosses, there was Black Widow, like the
that's
good
not
Black Widow.
Yeah, but that's still.
There was
You think that
Xena.
was a good one? All right, Xena's solid. That's a good one. I don't think Black Widow's a good example. In my personal opinion,
Okay.
Black Widow was not. She's not like overpowered or anything. And in Iron Man 2, Black Widow was great because
Sure.
she was like hot. She was still part of the team. I don't know. They. All right, I'll give you Black Widow. I'll give you that because she doesn't ever really go do over the top.
Check
that's
her out in the
solid.
comics and in the cartoon and animes. She's more of a badass in those.
Yeah,
but,
she doesn't. She's not a girl boss. She's not
Black Widow,
overpowered.
Xena, Lady Hawk,
Lady
in the 80s,
Hawkeye.
Scarlet Lady J, and GI Joe. Well, there was also GI Jane. There was
Well, hold on. Before you were talking about okay, so before I interrupted you,
Yeah.
you were with the the Scarlet whatever.
Okay. Yeah.
What was that? Scarlett Johansson. What was the other ones you were talking about? The girl Xena. Yes, Xena's a solid superhero chick.
Right.
She's
Agreed.
flawed. She's got powers, but she's not invincible. She earned her abilities because she's like a warrior, demon, whatever, and
Right.
she's that's
And
a
every
solid.
dude that cat called her got their nuts crushed every time.
Yeah, yeah, and she and did you actually? I actually watched Xena. I
did.
Did you remember that episode? It blew my mind because there's always a little bit of this lesbian tension between her and that girl, a blonde girl.
Well, that harkens back to the old idea, like of a knight and their squire when they're on long trips with each other.
Yeah, but I never heard of no squire getting crazy, freaky with the knight.
It's just like being in.
Not until anime came around did I hear about any concepts like that.
Oh,
Nice.
ask your grandpa about sharing the bunker with his war buddies.
Now hold on a minute. I read Man of La Mancha.
Yeah.
The Don Quixote. I've read the original. I have the original book. The big-ass, thick book. And I've seen the musical. Not once was there anything like that in either one of those.
But yeah, so Hercules, he had his buddy go with him on, long trips and everything. And then Xena had her female companion.
Hercules never flirted with that dude.
I'm just saying, drinking buddies get a little crazy.
Even to the extent that
Gabriel.
they'd probably, They probably Gabrielle, right?
Dude, I had a
Gab-
thing for Gabriel. I'm not even gonna lie.
Oh no, Xena all the way.
Nah,
Lucy
Gabriel.
Lawless.
Something about showing off that tummy. Just when I'm a 12-year-old boy, just
Xena did too, and Xena could
yeah.
jump and go la
But
la 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 like that. I'm sorry, I
I think
won't
you
do
need
that
to
again.
look up Gabriel again because she was
Her name is Gabrielle. Are you sure you're not
Gabriella,
thinking of
Gabrielle.
Hercules? You're talking Hercules.
Sorry, but I'm just saying that
RC
little
and the
crop
Tramp.
top that she had. Oh yeah, RC, the girl bot in Transformers.
Now,
Uh,
wait, Gabrielle was
if we're
not
gonna get
anywhere
weird
close to
like that,
Xena.
then let's go with Lola from Space Jam.
Yeah, actually, that's like weird furry shit that
Yeah,
that
but
I gotta say the
other girl
9-year-old me
bosses.
was kind of like cool with.
Of course, there was Wonder Woman. There was Hawk Girl. I liked Hawk Girl a little more than Wonder Woman because she was actually a warrior in the show. She wasn't like tripping over anybody.
I
Let's
liked
see.
okay.
Dark
I was talking
Angel.
when I was talking. Oh, okay, Dark Angel's another cool one. That is actually a really good short-lived series with what's her name? That girl that was in Mrs. Fantastic, Invisible Woman. What's her name?
Oh shit.
That actress. She was in the Sin City movies.
Yep. It's right
I can't
there.
remember her name, but she was actually pretty good in that show. I'll give you that one. That was a good show. Of course, back then, because those shows were interesting because they used to write good stories and modern day stuff. Trying to bring it back around here a little bit. Even Xena had good stories, including the one I was trying to say when she took Gabrielle. It's Gabrielle, not Gabriel.
Gabrielle.
Gabrielle used to take notes. She used to write like a scroll. Xena was taking a shit in one episode at the beginning of the episode, and she used her scroll to wipe her ass with. You remember that episode?
No, but I want to look it up.
That's why Xena rocks and Gabrielle socks.
That's awesome.
But so we got like modern day stories with this Indiana Jones, Terminator, Beetlejuice was actually fun to watch. I'll give you that. But with Ghostbusters, the stories are, man, I don't know. Like we're getting to this point where people are telling these stories, and they're just a series of events. There's no real story happening here. And even though some do kind of have a loose plot that's going on, especially with reboots, there's just this like it's like nostalgia, and they don't know what to do with the story. So they're just, I swear to God, that's what Toxic Avenger was going to be. And even though they say that they haven't released that movie because it's toxically offensive, I don't know if that's the case. I think they might be waiting for reshoots or something, or
probably.
But then again, that's kind of what I was thinking with the Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice was still a really good, fun movie to watch.
Why do you think there were so many? Why do you think there were so many reboots with Daredevil Born Again?
Which one was that? The comic?
The newest one. It's about to become another series.
Oh no, I didn't even hear about that.
Oh yeah, Charlie Cox is going to reprise his role for Disney, but they had to do reshoots for Born Again because, well, it was going to be shit.
Oh, the Netflix one was really good. I didn't know they were redoing it. I thought they were going to do that new series, and they were going to try and bring everybody together. All that Netflix stuff. Again. Well, I don't know. I'm just saying, I think that there's something going on. Personally, I think it's amateurish because I have read some books of late where I'm like, this is interesting ideas, but it does seem like there's no story. Maybe people are used to writing non-sequential stories, right? Like for TV shows or something, right? And so they're not thinking of a big story arc. They're just thinking, what is each character doing? And how does that tie in? Like maybe they're getting TV writers to start writing movies or something. I don't know how to write anything else. It's like the best example that I can think of. The worst example is that these people are just like talentless hacks and they don't know how to write a story. And somewhere in the middle is like too many cooks in the kitchen. Like everybody's got to have their input on the whole thing.
Oh, I totally agree. That's why it's called a writer's room, because there's more than one person every single time.
And it's like a writer's block every couple of years. So it's like...
Well,
Who's
see,
still
like
left?
Wonder Woman 84 can be picked apart with horrible storytelling. And then the first Wonder Woman, pretty solid. Not too many holes in
Yeah,
it.
I like the first Wonder Woman. That was a fun one.
But, with Wonder Woman 84, there was the Wish Stone, and then the Mandalorian became the Wish Stone. But you got to be holding on to the Wish Stone to make the wish, and then you got to be holding on to him to make the wish. But then at the end of the movie, suddenly he's just on the television, and whoever wishes towards him gets their wish. I thought you had to hold on to the guy.
Oh yeah.
And then, furthermore,
There's like some grape inclinations in that movie too.
sure, yeah, Chris Pine's dead character, soul takes over some other dude's body.
Yeah. And what are the
But
repercussions when that guy gets home and his wife
yeah, no
goes, "Where
shit.
the hell have you been?"
But we did get Linda Carter cameo at the end of the film, so that was pretty cool. She's still fine.
Yeah, that was
And
pretty cool.
but yeah, dude, storytelling it's taken a back seat to shock and awe, and I'm kind of done with it.
Or nostalgia. Yeah, grape. Gotta say, it's all about the
gotta
grape,
say
right?
grape. Stupid.
Just like, so you're filling in like storytelling. I'm just saying, guys, come up with a story, an idea, like just come up with something. If you don't have an idea, then why are you telling a story? You should just, if you're making a Beetlejuice movie, just because obviously they're making Beetlejuice because it's going to make money, but there has to be a story. I mean, in the decades, somebody had to have come up with an idea, and they're like, "That's actually a pretty good story." And then because it's Beetlejuice, all these other people are like, "Oh, I gotta get my name on this somehow." And it's just kind of, man, just focus. People need to focus, dude. It's this autistic, weird. I don't know what do you call that? The ADHD, right? I'm ADHD AF, and I will say I can focus better than that.
Yeah. Well, it's like we said. There's a lot of people that want to be writers but aren't. Like they see something and they fall in love with whatever IP that they fall in love with, and they're like, I want to write something, and it becomes a mirror of that, which is why I'm going to get dog for this, but I love Dragon Ball Z Abridged. I do. I love it to my core. I think the guys are awesome. You cannot call them writers when all they're doing is picking everything that's already been made and mushing it together to make it better. Okay?
I thought that was a pretty good one. And you know what? There's even the dubs. That's another thing. Like if you like Star Trek Next Generation, there's a thing called what is it? Star Trek The Next Generation TNG dubs.
Yeah.
They're funny. If you're a fan of Next Generation, go watch TNG dubs. They are hilarious. I don't know how that ties into storytelling at all, but the idea of people redoing something, they do actually kind of recreate their own narrative with the TNG dubs, which is kind of funny. But
well, see, that's the thing with Dragon Ball Z Abridged. All they do is like piece it together a little bit more than what the dubbed version did, and
without all the commercial breaks,
funny, it's hilarious. But you're really just taking IP that has already been made, the animation that's already been made, the characters that have already been made, and you're trying to put your spin on something that's already happened. You might make it funny, but you're not doing anything of weight to the story that hasn't come before you. That's why when you go to like public domain and you see people taking all these IPs that have already been there and they're just like putting their spin on it, I don't. You already had the groundwork laid out for you, sir. You are not doing anything
like Total Recall and Point Break.
Right.
They changed it around a little. It's kind of the same thing. Total Recall was like weird because the remake didn't make any sense. But...
So, Terror in the Trench. That character, Terror, is not only being used by Vonster. there are other people in the indie comic scene that are using that character known as Terror.
Yeah.
With the skull shirt that kind of looks like
Mm-hmm.
Punisher with the trench coat and the Umbrella Academy mask. I mean, that character is being used by other indie creators. It's just that Vonster is the one that we know about because he's in our area. Okay. So you're seeing this public domain character be used by multiple people. The only one that's going to get known is the one who has the most followers. But are you all kind of doing the kind of the same thing? Are you
There's
guys
a
doing it
lot
easy
of
enough?
these public domain characters, and oh man, we are at 1 hour and 10 minutes. But there
Sorry.
is no. There is something to be said about public domain and people taking characters and not doing a good job with them. I
Right.
was excited. I was actually excited for that Zorro. There, okay, there were
Right. Yeah.
multiple Zorro comics that were coming out.
Mhm.
One of them was by that Scottish guy. I can't remember his name right now, but because I'm old, it's been a long day.
Right.
But that guy, y'all know who I'm talking about. That I was looking forward to because there were several at the time. Nothing looked good. And then his looked like it could have been cool, but then it ended up just being another girl boss Zorro. Let's just make Zorro a girl, and Zorro's a cameo in that whole thing.
Tired of it.
Yeah, and I was just, and I didn't read the whole thing. To be honest, I read, I don't know what you could say. Like enough. It was probably enough pay. Honestly, I don't even know. I don't know. Several pages of this thing. Probably a book's worth, like a regular comic book's worth. I don't remember how long that story was, but I got to a point where I'm just like, I can't do it. I can't do it. I'm not interested. It's not that it was bad. It's just I like the old Zorros. I used to read the Zorro. I watched the old Zorro show. I like Zorro. And now these public domain. Now we got Winnie the Pooh running around murdering people, which is hilarious, but also it was horrible.
Yeah.
We got about to have some Steamboat Willies murdering people, I'm sure.
When it came to Zorro, there was the Antonio Banderas film, the Mask of Zorro, and then the sequel that came out 4 years later called The Legend of Zorro. And if you want to talk about fucked up storytelling, go rewatch The Legend of Zorro and tell me why it bombed.
You know what? I don't even remember Legend. I remember the first one being pretty cool. I used to watch the old TV show. I love the old TV show, like the old black and white one.
Well, there's a new TV show on either Hulu, Amazon, or HBO. I can't remember which, but it's a new show. But I think I only saw like 3.2 stars out of 5 on it.
That's because everything.
They did the girl boss thing.
Oh, you know what? I forgot. That's because everything sucks these days.
Yeah,
everything sucks. It's all, what do they call it? Woke. It's all woke. It's all check boxes.
Yep.
I don't mean to be like a downer. Actually, there's a lot of cool shit that's coming out. Cyberpunk was very refreshing when Cyberpunk came out because I like anime, but that I wouldn't call that an anime, to be fair. That was
Which
like
one?
a Cyberpunk, the Edge Runners.
Oh yeah,
that one was pretty cool, and it's old
Total
now,
Recall.
but
without Mars.
No way, really?
It's Total Recall without Mars.
You think? I never thought about it like that. Hold on, let me think about this.
I'm making the call.
Did you watch the whole thing? Because it seems like you might have watched the first episode to get that opinion.
Okay.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know about that.
I'm just over here in my own bubble, dude.
I'm trying to think about how that could fit into, because that's an intriguing thought that Edge Runners is kind of a Total Recall story. There's got to be a better analogy, but Edge Runners, it is definitely like something out there, but I can't quite pinpoint. Another one, Altered Carbon was another. It's not new anymore, but Altered Carbon was like, holy crap, I haven't seen a show this good in a really long time. Dune is awesome. Dune is like killing it right now. It's the new Lord of the Rings. I don't know what they're going to do about the next story, considering how much they covered in the last movie. The next movie is going to be bonkers. And mark my words, bringing this whole thing back around, we got Beetlejuice.
Hell yeah.
We got Beetlejuice. What's that?
I need to see it.
You can wait till streaming. It'll be fine. Well, okay. We've got Beetlejuice. We've got Beetlejuice. And then that means there's going to make a Beetlejuice.
Now get out! And I'll tell you when I want you back!